Welcome to the IVM Podcast Network.
All right, please note that the language and ideas presented on the show might not be suitable for everyone. If you're under 18, make sure your mom isn't around. If you're over 80, why is your mom around?
You're listening to Cyrus Says.
Somewhere in North England, there's a man called Dhruv Karwa. And he's going to give us poetry from Japan with a global flavor. He's the richest man I've ever met. He's only 24. Yes, internet millionaire himself, entrepreneur, businessman, and a personal friend. He's given us Haiku Jam.
Why follow your auntie's advice when you can follow Cyrus Says on Facebook and Twitter to stay updated about the latest shows?
Here on Cyrus Says, let's talk about entitlement and Indian men, which is what I used to represent till the change. But let me tell you, the other day I was standing outside my building and kids were playing cricket, 8, 10-year-old boys, and the ball came towards me and one of them said, "Ball dena." And I got to tell you, that's wrong. Why is he entitled to think that I should get up, bend down, pick up the ball and pass it to him? We don't even know each other. So I'm saying right now, don't pass balls, Indian men, to each other. Do not do this, ever. Let them find their own ball and bring it up and put it back into play on their own. Teach them to fend for themselves or they'll land up like me living with my parents at 45. It's called Cyrus Says.
And that's what Cyrus Says.
All right, here on Cyrus Says, we're with a young man called Dhruv. It's complicated. It's Dhrupad, but grew up in Britain, so hence it's Dhruv.
Sure.
We'll come to that. Dhrupad Karwa, is it?
That's it, that's right.
Karwa as in some part of Karnataka, is it?
Rajasthan.
Rajasthan. See, my geography is getting better. How far is Rajasthan from Karnataka? Just a bus ride away. Yeah, there you go. Okay, Dhruv, we'll talk about your origins, but first we have to talk about why you're so famous so soon. You're like Mozart. 24, you're a big number.
Not at all.
No?
Not famous yet.
Okay, you don't say it. You're Brit, so they never say that. No, so in your culture, it's wrong. But in Indian culture, if you don't say you're famous, nobody notices you. I'm famous. In Delhi, though, you have to say it, or you won't get into the line. Dhrupad, lines are a bad word in India at the moment, by the way. Dhrupad Karwa, of course, 24-year-old CEO and co-founder of Haiku Jam. Is that how you pronounce it?
Haiku Jam.
Haiku Jam.
Yep.
All right. Creative social network where people write micro stories together. Let's first get into that in a big way. Haiku, no, I purposely didn't read it up because I have a vague idea.
Sure.
It's a Japanese form of very limited poetry, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it.
So just take us through what it is.
Sure. So a haiku, it's a form of minimalistic poetry that was inspired by in ancient Japan. And whilst Haiku Jam's not strictly based on the rules of, traditional purist haiku.
You bloody Indians. You've taken a pure tradition and you've changed
corrupted it, right?
You've corrupted it.
No.
Unbelievable.
But
Thousands of years in Japan. Sorry.
We get this all the time. I've got a lot of angry emails from
I can
haiku
imagine. The
societies,
Orthodox, they've conserved it for years and years. It must be huge for them.
For us, we've been very much inspired by the framework of haiku. So, for instance, a haiku has 3 lines. Right?
And in the traditional classical approach, it can only be 3 lines.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the core constraint. And then there is a syllable-based, also typically traditional haiku. There's a seasonal or natural reference. But, we're more in the pop cultural world where it can be about anything. But anyway, in the context of Haiku Jam, the constraint is 3 lines. And the jam element comes in whereby 3 people each contribute those 3 lines. So it's very, very simple.
Ooh. It's a little medley going on,
exactly.
A relay of sorts.
It's a
almost like porn for me now.
Oh.
Because you've got all kinds of people collaborating on 1 line each. You know how far
I don't know
are.
What you watch, but I
watch everything, Japanese and much more. And let me tell you, Dhruv, I was thinking India is all about lines at the moment because of demonetization. Lines everywhere. And it's almost poetic that you've come up with this because it's almost like a parody of sorts on what's happening with us as we speak in society here. But coming back, why would a 24-year-old boy be interested in haiku? Where does that come from? Where's the Japanese or literary influence?
So for me, I've been, I've always been very interested in startups, entrepreneurship, and also literature and writing.
You say always been. You're not 62. You're 24.
No, I mean, I caught the startup bug when I was 13 and built my first company when I was 14 in
That's
school.
why I said Mozart, so I wasn't wrong.
Not at all.
Huh. What did you build at 13 and 14?
So at
when
14,
most boys would be masturbating with either hand.
I was so basically
masturbating as well, but moving forward,
learning the ways of the world. I'm sure.
There
but
you go.
I used to get the school train. I used to get a train to school every single day.
What does that mean? Take the train to school.
I used to take the train to school. And when you're 14, you don't buy newspapers, right? You just read whatever's freely available. And all of us used to read this pretty trashy newspaper called The Metro. Are you familiar with it?
I know The Sun, because Samantha Fox was a big thing in the 80s. The Mirror? Is that? Whoa.
No, is the Mirror still a thing? I never read
I
the
think
Mirror.
it's closed down.
Yeah, maybe. So anyway, so the Metro is a free newspaper, and it wasn't like the most inspirational
Which you get on the train,
piece in
hence
the
the
world.
name.
Yeah, you get get any transport network in the UK, and it was. It was full of like celebrity gossip, trashy news, and it wasn't
I love
like
that. Like Boris Johnson's new hairstyle.
Yeah,
and things like
exactly. I hated that, and I still,
that. He's actually worse dressed than an Indian politician, I have to tell you. Huh.
Boris Johnson.
At his pomp. Now he's off, isn't he? Yeah.
But so we used to read this every morning, and we all used to complain about it. My friends and I, saying, "Oh, this is depressing."
Substandard as is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I felt, rather than complain about it, why don't we do something about it? What if we launched a newspaper business or a free newspaper?
You were
except
13.
it was based 14. I was
14.
Just turned 14.
Wow.
What if we made a free newspaper based on a framework of positive journalism, articles that would actually inspire and uplift you at 7 in the morning, as opposed to just not make you feel that great about your life and the world around you? And that was it. That was the seed of the idea. And I thought, right, how would we do that? Because I can't write all these articles myself. I like to write, but obviously that's not going
one
to
part.
work.
What about the finance? You want to give a free-to-air sort of newspaper?
Yeah,
How
so
do
in
you-
fact, like that actually came pretty quickly. We figured out that, okay, the Metro is a free newspaper. How do they do it? They advertise businesses around the UK. So I thought, okay, why don't we? So I think we initially, dreaming very big, we went to all the biggest companies like Coke, Starbucks, and all these guys.
Let me understand this. You were 14, so
yeah.
you walk into Coke, into the admin offices.
Cold emails. Cold emails and
Cold
a little
emails. So you have no
like
idea
cold
the quality.
calling and then walking
Who are
in.
the co-collaborators? How old are they?
My team.
Yeah.
So I had the idea and then I pitched it to a couple of friends in my class.
So 3 or 4 14-year-olds.
There's 3 of us, yeah.
Are you kidding me?
No.
That's hilarious.
It was fun.
And your email, you obviously don't mention your age.
No.
And so they take you seriously like you're a Wharton grad with great ideas.
It was funny,
to change
like
England.
you've got to use the age to your advantage. So, for instance, when you're pitching, you definitely don't, right? But when we figured out that we don't have enough money to print, like go to a printing press and afford the printing, so then you were like, oh, I'm only 14, I'm really passionate
Help
about
me,
this, and they
yeah.
were like, oh, of course, what a sweet kid. So yeah.
What are you saying? It's a good technique.
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah, it
still works.
You play two sides of the coin all the time, is it?
That's a controversial thing to think about.
It's fair enough.
Depends on the
It's brought you
context.
success. This is your strategy. This is your... Listen, in your tell-all book, it'll all be there anyway, won't it?
True.
So let me understand, when did you actually meet people in the flesh who saw you as a 14-year-old or a bunch of 14-year-olds and took you seriously?
So what we found was that no one at Starbucks or Costa Coffee replied, and the
But
way
they didn't
to
reply
start
because they didn't
was
believe in the plan. They didn't know who you were.
yeah, it was just a random email, right, or
Right.
a random call, and there was no product either. We hadn't actually published a paper. So what we decided to do was, why don't we get a mock-up of the paper ready? So let's say
pilot,
10
as we call
articles,
it, yeah.
right? So we crowdsourced those articles. That was another thing. We realized that again we can't.
When you say
create all this
crowdsources,
content.
you keep it open and people send in.
So yeah, no, we actually pitched. We contacted university professors, high school friends from universities.
The hoily-poily, the hoity-poity. What is the
That's
right
it.
word?
It was a lot of hustle. It was a lot of fun, and then we got a lot of articles about culture, about music, about science.
So let me
about
understand, you're
technology.
trying to replace the slightly semi-pornographic, gossipy, who's wearing what sort of news with more high-end cultural comments about,
I don't really like that word high end, but more something that would actually
my
inspire
point
you
is,
to
so
think
the people
or
on
to
the,
feel.
what do you think the market wants? See, I understand that you as an erudite young man with a little more sophisticated bent of mind wants a certain, is not happy with a certain standard of journalism. But what about the yob, if I can use that? What about the normal guy who's on the metro or on the train?
The thing is, it's up to you whether you want to
So I want my Samantha Fox, not now though.
Yeah.
I want it in the 80s. Because that'll be a lot less
I think
Samantha.
you've got to, as an entrepreneur, you can either just be very satisfied with the here and now and what people want today, or you can actually build something that.
So were you predicting
looks
this is what
to
they'll want?
Change human behavior for the better. So we were taking that bet.
So you're taking a risk a punt in a sort.
Of course, always.
Okay,
You always
but
got to
coming
take
back
that
to
risk.
this, I cannot understand because you seem so normal. A 14-year-old boy is actually, I mean this in the nicest way. A 14-year-old boy is actually thinking of how to better the society's intellectual capacity of sorts.
Sure.
Because you're reading this and saying, "What the crap is this? This is no way to live." I'm thinking, but you're 14. You're the one who should be enjoying that. This is almost another paradox.
Yeah, I don't know.
And the confidence, as you said, the punt
Yeah.
that you took, that people will align themselves towards better is the wrong word, more serious journalism. Is it?
Yeah, it was for me. It was it wasn't even as highbrow at the time.
So give us an example of what they wrote in your pilot test copy.
There was an article about the Grameen Bank and microfinance that was it. I think I wrote. There was an article about an explorer who had just come back from Antarctica, and he was sharing his experience of like the Arctic and also the Antarctic.
What can you talk about? There's ice and there's more ice.
Yeah, he said it was very, very, very silent, even more so than this soundproof room.
You're telling me. So if you've been married for 25 years and you want some peace of mind, read that article on the Explorer.
Right.
I mean, this is like so give us a few more examples if you don't mind. It's like all over the place, right, at the moment?
Yeah, there was articles about, local cricket teams, local charities.
Some human story to that?
Absolutely.
Somebody
Exactly.
climbing out of the gutter
Personal
and
stories.
reaching the top, etc.?
Absolutely. There was stories about entrepreneurship and really the full spectrum of thought. It was really amazing. It was fun.
Okay, so you put this together. How many pages would that be?
I think in the first pilot, so we as with any product, whether it's software, apps or whatever it is that you're doing, you want to try and validate, your idea as soon as possible. So we got this together very, very quickly. And then rather than going back to Starbucks, who said no and we're just ignoring you, we went to local businesses in the area. So
As in,
mom and
like
pop
grocers
shops, restaurants, like craft shops in the area. So I was brought up in Yorkshire.
You're a Bradford boy.
Not a Bradford boy.
So you haven't rioted yet.
Huh?
Sorry,
No.
just kidding.
So I was living in
But
Doncaster.
you don't have a Northern England
No, I
accent?
don't.
Can you put it on just for authenticity? So
Honestly,
people...
I don't. People tell me that my voice changes depending on the region that I'm in, and
You know, I
this
had
is
another
super
friend-
subconscious.
No, this is amazing. Is this to do with England? I had another friend who had come down from Yorkshire and worked with us on a music channel, and he had a London accent.
Right.
And because he spent 2 years in London, but 25 years in Yorkshire prior to that. And he kept saying that he can't explain it, but 2 years in London, so now he's got this sort of central London accent. But if he speaks to Northerners, he gets his accent back.
That's it.
But he can't put it on.
You can't. I'm going
What
back
the hell?
to Yorkshire the week after next for Christmas and New Year, and
So you
I'm
spend
sure
1 hour
I'll-
chatting with your pals so that you can fit in.
And then that's it. That's it. Like an iguana.
Oh man, that's hilarious. Okay, let me understand again. You put together this thing. Who vets which story? Looking at the pilot copy, the first copy, who would vet which story would finally make it? You had a lot of sources. You put it all together.
I love how you're making it sound so professionalized.
No,
Honestly,
because
it was
it's
just
successful. I always want. Just want to pick your brains on.
Sure.
Is it just luck or what?
It was, honestly, we read them ourselves. We showed a bunch of teachers at school. We showed a bunch of friends who were studying English
And different
at
age groups.
university. Different age groups. And that was it. So then what we did was we took those few copies and knocked on a lot of doors in Wakefield and Leeds and, other parts of Yorkshire. Pitching advertising space. So I think we had if you wanted a quarter of a page, that was a £15 ad. If you wanted a full page, it was a £35 ad. We started figuring out how do newspapers actually market themselves, especially free ones. So they're talking about things like reach. They're talking about
£15. That's it.
Have to start somewhere, right?
What would be the rate of a big newspaper in England right now for a full page ad?
A lot more than that. But we were 14 and we didn't have a newspaper yet. And to being quite, being
And you go to the
completely
local
honest,
pub and the greengrocer
exactly.
and this and that.
It was going to start by distributing
pennies
at
to begin
schools,
with.
and then we started distributing at the local train station right next to the metro, where the metro is
Fair
distributed. That
enough.
was fun.
That's called capitalism. It's allowed.
Yeah, that was it. And,
Did you beat them?
Conscious capital. We didn't beat them. We didn't beat
But
them
you
in terms
dented
of
them.
reach. But we
You punched above your weight.
It was for us. It was like an unbelievable experience. A lot of people start thinking about building companies maybe after their business MBA or when they're at university or they've been in a job for 10 years. When you're doing that at class 9. You learn so much, and you've made a lot of mistakes in a really risk-free environment.
So what you're saying is failing is actually a great thing.
It's important.
And we hear these stories all the time growing up. You must fail to succeed. You must fail.
Yeah.
But you actually lived that for a second.
Yeah,
it's
no,
not
for
really a
sure.
failure though.
No,
it went
exactly,
somewhere.
it's not it was more a case of
Give me numbers. How much did you sell?
So we distributed
Or not sell? How many did you distribute?
thousands and thousands of copies throughout the year.
So the advertiser got his money's worth.
Yeah.
I mean, 15 bloody pounds
Yeah.
and 10,000 people read it. I mean, how can the greengrocer or the pub guy complain?
I mean, the rate definitely increased throughout the year, but it was still pretty cheap. And you know what? The funny thing was, so you must know Subway, right? The sandwich
right,
chain.
of course.
So,
What do you think, we Indians are backward?
No.
You're right.
Not at all. But so Subway, we reached out to them when we were starting things out, and there was no communication. But then the marketing head for Subway in the north of England, he found out about what we were doing, and he actually reached out towards the end of the year and saying, "Hey, let's like distribute some coupons in your next issue."
So
that was
another
very,
money
very
driver.
cool. That was
Well,
like,
what was it called? We forgot the name in all this.
oh, the name is embarrassing.
Please,
The name is embarrassing.
play music.
We called it the Vortex Express.
you.
It was.
Excuse my
I
French.
still. This was like.
I mean, what are you? You're 14-year-old guys trying to outshout the
One of my
competition.
friends was
The Vortex
super
Express.
into physics.
Oh, jeez.
And like we were trying to come up with a name, and he said it's just got to sound cool and
Were they
electronic.
all Desi boys?
No.
What the hell?
I was the only
Vortex.
Desi guy.
Yeah, it sounds like that. It sounds like one of the
Yeah, it was-
Indian scientist guys.
I was
know.
hoping you wouldn't ask me that. I'm still embarrassed about that.
I
I,
mean,
remember like we
I
were
mean,
just
they
having
call-
lunch, and he said we need to call it something that sounds like electronic and futuristic.
Only the Indian guy could bring the caste system into England. So what you did is you had a lower middle class paper like the Metro, and you got the Vortex Express. You Brahmins got together,
You're making
and
me feel terrible.
and you
You're
created
making me
division.
question every decision I've ever made.
No. Come on, what an experience. So that set the
cool.
ball rolling. You were 14, and I'll just take us a little forward because before we come to the life-changing experience,
Yeah.
were there other businesses?
Yeah, there was a few others. So 2 years later, we set up a company.
And you're studying
called-
simultaneously. All that's going on.
Sorry? Yeah.
It's not like you
yeah,
dropped
we were
out,
playing,
yeah.
No. It was insane because
There's no Indian descent boy will be allowed to drop out of
no,
school.
no,
It's
not
never
at
happened.
all.
It's New England
That's another
or any other
conversation,
country.
actually. I had a lot of conversation with my mother about this.
Were they
But
worried that you were doing too much on the side?
At university, my mother was worried. She thought I'd drop out. Because I was getting more into like software entrepreneurship and coding, and she thought, and we had
and she wanted you to be a doctor?
No, my father's a doctor.
There you
and
go.
My dad has been like amazing in the sense he's always encouraged my brother and me to follow our passions and do whatever we do and work really, really hard, do things that we care about. I think my mom like wanted, when we were younger, for one of us to become a doctor for ridiculous practical reasons, that if someone gets ill, kya hoga, at least there's a doctor in the family.
Save money?
Right. No,
Give us the
honestly,
Asian
like,
experience.
No. They're really not like that at all. It was more just, I think she loved medicine. Or the idea of like
this is
medicine.
the growing up in the
you know.
80s and 90s effect. I think whether you're Desi or whether you're here in actual India, it's the same thing. And the sad part is I remember telling my mom that I won't be a doctor, but I'll be a patient. So we'll keep the connection. Yeah. I think we'll take a quick break here and then we'll come back. My producer's nodding his head off. But we've got to talk about the entire internet boom and how you've ridden it in the year or so?
Year and a half. Yeah.
Year and a half. All right. Take a break. We'll come back. His name is Drew.
Thank
His
you.
real name is Drupad.
Thanks.
Hi, I'm Ambika.
And I'm Hoshna.
Come journey with us around India as we chat about new and offbeat destinations, from secret islands to village stays, give you travel tips and advice, discuss all the yummy and weird food we've sampled, and induce some serious wanderlust.
So tune in to the Rediscovery Podcast.
New episodes out every Monday on the IVM Podcast app or any other podcasting app you like.
Yeah, back here with the man who used to be known as Drupad Karwa, but now goes by Drew. I suppose as a young boy, you must have just, decided to, anglicize it a little bit, make it easy
It wasn't
for
me.
everyone.
My friends all call me Dhru. No one could say Dhru
could-
in
yeah,
England, so
yeah.
I was Dhru.
So you were Drew. You've just done the Metro experience with Vortex Express and sort of, dented their capabilities. Do they still exist, the Metro?
The Metro's still around.
They're still around, but
Still
they
around
upped their
and
game
relevant.
thanks to you.
Yeah.
You scared the crap out of them. So then just take us, before we get into the Haiku experience, what else happened as you grew older, more and more businesses?
Sure. Yeah. So there were a number of different startups. I think the ones in school were the most interesting because you had so many things going on, like GCSE exams. I was playing table tennis for the county, played a lot of cricket, and then also getting through school.
Playing for the
So-
county, Yorkshire?
Yeah.
You represent Yorkshire at table tennis?
Yeah.
That's not bad.
Yeah, it was fun. It was
Yeah.
good. The junior level, but that was.
So you like little balls. Sorry about that. You must have heard that all your life. Yeah. Hey, here he comes, the Indian boy with the little balls.
There was you had this film Balls of Fury.
No, haven't seen.
It was like some spoof table. You've seen it.
Yeah?
Producers nodding. That was some spoof table tennis film, and I
Now
thought it
you
was
can
gonna
see what
be
the
like-
nerd is.
I thought it was going to be like a really inspirational, like Karate Kid turned on film, and they
Oh.
were just like taking the piss out.
Was
of
it a
table
Mr.
tennis.
Miyagi-like character?
Yeah, but he was blind, and
shoot. Sorry,
you
I'm
know,
so sorry.
he was
I shouldn't
just,
laugh.
people were making fun of him. But yeah, that was
Like he was seriously blind?
yeah. Well, no, in the film.
No, in the film, the character I'm saying.
Yeah, he was
It sounds like a Hindi film from the 50s. Blind
It
coach
was a
teaches
bad film. I was
deaf and dumb
I was not
champion.
happy about it. But my friends had a great time watching it with
But
me.
that's not bad. So you represented what would be equivalent to Maharashtra State or
Yeah.
Delhi State in India at a sport. And cricket, how far did you go there?
Cricket, I didn't get into the Yorkshire team, but I played for South and East Yorkshire.
But let me tell you, the biggest providers of international cricketers for England in the last 10 years.
What's that?
The
England?
northern counties.
Yeah,
Yorkshire.
yeah, absolutely.
So if you made it there, you would have walked straight to the test team.
No, I wasn't that good. But it
Batsman
was,
or bowler?
I opened the batting and bowled leg spin.
Wow. So you're Adil Rashid, who's also from Yorkshire.
Wow.
He could bat in the middle order and leg spin. Not bad. Excellent.
So all these things were happening, and the next company after, I'm not going to say the name, but the
Please.
newspaper company, the Vortex Express. Why
Yeah.
I don't know why we called it that, but right.
One day that'll be huge because that's your beginning. That's your, pardon the pun, the station you got on. And then, move forward.
You look back and I think we did a really great job other than the name. We decided it over a lunch based on my friend who was super interested in physics, and I thought, how about this name? And he thought, that sounds great.
No, I think there's a story out there for all of us because what you found is a niche.
Yeah.
I think people just dumb down societies and say, okay, Metro, that's all we got, read this. What you realize what the internet provides is that you can find something for yourself.
That's very true.
And that's exactly what you've done. I think subconsciously initially, but now you're hands-on. So give us the stories, the next one.
So the next thing was the company was called Insight. So you can see the trend. There's been an evolution in the names.
It's still pedagogic. Oh, God is watching. Yeah.
But we basically, what was the? I think it was like 2006, and jute products and organic products were really like catching on in England. I think people really were talking a lot more about
Environmental
sustainable
conscious
living,
and all that,
environmental consciousness, and we imported jute products and beautiful gifts, made out of organic papers from India and Nepal. And we sold them to gift shops.
Like the East
and
India
craft
Company
suppliers.
with that double system that they had, would take the
This is a
raw materials from
controversial
India,
show.
sell it in England. Yeah.
Right, so that's what we did. And then we provide like a design service for local takeaways as well. So if they wanted like
What's a design
10,000
service?
so if they wanted like jute bags, and they wanted their logos or any like artworks,
You'd
printed
marry
on them.
the
Exactly.
thing to the service. Okay, fair
So
enough.
that wasn't as exciting as an idea. I think it was cool.
No,
we
but then
learned
you
a lot
brought
again.
getting the environmental issue into it is another,
Yeah.
string to the bow. But did it work? How would you semi-successful? How would
It
you
was
rate?
I mean, the thing is, when you're running a business like part-time with school, there's only so much you can do.
And cricket and TT.
Yeah.
And I presume girls and friends and parties and all the
Yeah, I
what
think
have
there was
you.
a girl there, I think. Someone who
He remembers his TT
infatuated with
film
it.
hardcore, start to finish. Can't remember the damn girl. Yeah.
But, there's a lot going on, but we work super, super hard at it. Like every single day, like early morning
You keep
before
saying we.
school
So
start.
are these the same partners that you collaborate with? Is it some sort of
Yeah, so
group
I
of
think it
guys?
was two of the same co-founders from class
Vortex
9,
Express?
the Vortex Express,
Yeah.
and then another guy as well.
Okay. So you can see a sort of team forming now.
Yeah.
And you move on to the next one, which is?
So I think that was the
Parents are now getting involved in thinking, oh God, this guy's got something going for him? Because
I think they were getting quite excited. They were
They
like,
were.
because again, for them, they
My
was
son, genius,
not from a
Indian
business
cocktail
family at
parties.
all. They were
Yeah.
just like, wow, what is this? This is interesting, and especially when it stops just being talk and it manifests, and they see you're working super hard, you care really deeply
Listen, my
about it.
14-year-old kid had come up with a newspaper and made some inroads into a huge market which was there for hundreds of years, and then had another business in a couple of years and wanted to go for the third one. I'd start backing the horse, I'd be like, okay, this guy's got
My
something.
dad was very, very excited. I thought because it wasn't. I'm not a person that was motivated by business or such. Business still as an idea doesn't excite me that much, but it was ideas and products.
Right.
And taking having an idea and making it something and summoning it into existence, that was exciting. And if there happens to be a business that needs to be built around that to enable it, then cool. Then that's cool. But I wouldn't say I'm super excited about the art of business, but more like creativity and
So
ideas.
the money-making part of you doesn't turn you on as much as the actual innovation.
Absolutely
And the
not.
service you can provide.
Absolutely not.
Oh.
Money is just it's the grease that keeps
So you're not
the engine
fully
going.
Indian. There's some 20%
Maybe not.
here and there from Yorkshire
I'm
itself.
definitely not a typical Marwari
God.
guy. Yeah.
All right, let's move on. All the other businesses, if we can quickly squeeze them in.
Yeah, so there was one at university, and this was
University of Leeds?
University College London, UCL.
Okay, all right.
So
Big
this
shot.
was a
By
pretty.
the way, that means he's a big shot. Huh? University College London, he just drops it softly, but that means there's money here.
No, it's a cool college. I mean, it's. I applied for Oxford and things when I was in school. I didn't get in. I was devastated at the time. But in retrospect, I'm so glad I went to UCL. They
You
really
can go back and do a course now. You have the money.
no.
Buy yourself a little wing in Oxford with a
No, no, no.
citation. And
they are super supportive of entrepreneurship. So basically, I got a lot more into technology in university. I studied economics, but I started going to like hackathons, taught myself how to code, and became really excited about software. Again, not because I was super, I wanted to be an engineer or like I was inspired by the art of software, but what it could do. Like, it could enable so much. I was thinking back to our newspaper business, and then you think, what if that had been a digital company? That we did have a website at the time, but it would have been so much easier to like generate articles and hypercharge whatever it is that you were doing, right? So that was super exciting, and we went to one particular it was my first hackathon actually, and some like stars aligned, and we ended up winning it. And within a few weeks of that, we'd secured some angel funding, and I was on the verge of dropping out of university. Yep.
As in, you won a prize?
Yeah, so are you familiar with hackathons?
I'm familiar with shagathons. Is it very similar?
No, it's really not. So these last for 54 hours. I don't know what you do on the weekend.
You set the bar high. You set the bar high.
Basically, like, you go to a venue and you build something in 54 hours. Most people don't sleep. You have like Friday till Sunday. Yeah.
54 hours non-stop.
Yeah. It's amazing because it's like most people are actually... The only difference between an entrepreneur and anybody else is someone who actually executes on it, right? Everyone has ideas. Everyone is always talking about ideas.
To take it forward.
Just to take it forward. Yeah. But it's tough when you have a job or a family or a school, and there's always 1,000 reasons not to start. So the really cool things about these hackathons and these like weekend activities is that there's just no excuse. You go there and you have 48 hours and you build a team with people you've never met before. And you code, you do market research, you validate, whatever it is that you want to do. And then on Sunday evening, you pitch to a panel of VCs, judges, successful entrepreneurs. And we won that.
With the product called?
The Bill Geeks.
The Bill Geeks.
Actually, when we did the hackathon, it was called Energy Slash, but then we rebranded to
What was the basic concept of this?
So this was a very interesting idea. So I don't know if you're familiar with the energy market in the UK at all, but it's extremely privatized.
Right.
So there's like, I think there's now...
BPL Gas, that's all I can remember.
British Gas.
Gas.
So there's like 26, 27 different companies selling you electricity and gas. It's all coming out of the same pipe, the same grid, but there's a lot of different brands slapping their brand name on tariffs. And as a consequence...
but they give you different rates, right?
Exactly. So that's actually, whilst that's a great thing about privatization, privatization facilitates choice, but then there's the paradox of choice. When there's too many choices, it leads to paralysis. If you're walking through the breakfast cereal aisle and there's 10 boxes, you can make a decision.
And the Indian families will go berserk because you're going to go through everyone.
Exactly.
We're not going to let them go.
And if there's 10,000, how do you make that choice?
Fair enough.
And that's what's happened in the energy market. There's tens and thousands.
So you found a way to simplify this?
So we actually found a way to automate the entire process. So right now, you have to manually switch between your energy provider. And you should be doing that maybe every 3-4 months because the prices are changing every 30 minutes in this market.
Okay, it's like a game. You've got to figure out where you are and you've got to hit the right guy.
Exactly. But it's energy, right? It's electricity and gas. Most people don't know what a kilowatt hour of light or whatever even means. It's difficult to quantify. And it's just happening in the background, and it's a bit of a hassle to go online and switch. It's obfuscated, it's confusing.
You've created an advisory thing for everybody.
So
to figure out rates.
Basically, right now, you can find out rates. That was the interesting thing. And that's what we were wondering when we had this idea. We thought, right, you can actually go online and switch. The information is as to why aren't people doing it? Then when we dived into the psychology of it, obviously there's inertia. People are getting more and more time poor.
Inertia because there's so much choice.
Too much choice, difficult to do. And do you really want to spend a couple of hours on a Saturday just switching between...
And you have to do it all the time, but it just keeps fluctuating.
Exactly. So we thought... We took a step back and said, is that the future? Is that the future of the home? We thought it's not, right? People want to spend, you want to free up more and more time for things that you actually want to do. And paying bills is something that nobody wants to do, but you have to.
In India, we don't sometimes.
We don't.
We may have to now because of this damn demonetization.
Yeah, so that was a good thing about it then, I guess, right? But that's another conversation. So, yeah, we had automated the entire process. So, Cyrus, instead of you going 4 times a year switching, you'd pay our system a direct debit of £2 a month, £24 a year.
And you do it for me?
We'd automatically switch.
Can you do that with wives?
Sorry?
Can you do that with wives? This whole fluctuating thing. You pause. You're an entrepreneur. Never pause. Say yes. Figure it out
I'm
later.
thinking so.
On your next Shagathon. Sorry, what is it called?
It wouldn't work with wives because electricity and gas, it's a homogeneous product.
Gas comes from us
It's all
anyway.
the same. It's all the same, whereas like women aren't.
Okay,
So,
easy,
like,
boy. You're 24. And you've got to go back. I think to Leeds as well. They make them bigger. Yeah.
Right.
So this sounds like a great idea, frankly. You
It was
won
a cool idea.
the hackathon.
Yeah, we got a bit of angel funding
Did
afterwards.
you actually? And you got angel funding, so you took it further.
Yeah,
did
got a
it-
letter from the Prime Minister, David Cameron, at the time about the
Oh.
idea. So here was the
When
thing.
you were part of Europe. Oops.
yeah, when I was when we were part of Europe.
So you got actually a letter from David Cameron.
Yeah, from his office.
And was it a successful venture as you went forward?
No, it wasn't. It
Why?
wasn't. Not because. And here was the interesting thing. We knew from the beginning that this wasn't a technology challenge. We weren't like rebuilding. We were leveraging very existing technology. It was essentially going to be a price comparison website, except with this automated switching component. Right. That's all it was.
Right.
The challenge was going to be how do you get legal access to this data? Because prices are changing every single day. It's not centrally like accessible.
So you have to check with each company
Yeah, so we had to check with each company. But obviously it's not in the interests of the big six,
to tell you.
right? To tell us, because they're relying on this inertia. Even though, like, I remember at the time, even though the wholesale price of energy was declining, the retail price was actually increasing per quarter. Because they know that they can. There's a 90% chance you're not going to switch, so they can
They
charge
want
you
to keep
a
their
fraction a
dominance
bit more.
also. Fair enough.
Right? So,
So you bribe them?
no, not at all.
Bring the Indian hand into the whole thing. Come on, make us proud.
We didn't bribe them at all. We tried to get it done. We realized that, okay, I mean, we got shut down by most of the big companies very, very quickly. So we went to the regulator, and there was a lot of back and forth with the regulator, and there was a lot of like digging. We were literally Alice in Wonderland, going down a rabbit hole, trying to figure out how this market works. So the data is there, so who has it? And to cut a long story short, we couldn't get access. We couldn't get legal access, and if you can't get legal access, there's no point building out a system.
Beaten
You
by
lose
the
that.
red tape. At the end of the day.
Red tape, 100%.
Damn it, this is the Desi experience everywhere. They can't stop our innovation and our creativity. But Dhruv, I tell you, these people are after us.
That was
They
it
clamp down on you through government and through red tape.
was nuts. It was nuts, man.
I had the same problem in Iraq under Saddam Hussein, but it's another story for
Oh,
another
my-
day, as you
oh,
say.
wow.
Listen, we need to get to haiku. We've
Yeah,
talked
yeah,
about
sure.
everything else, but the main thing is that how did this idea come along? You said right at the beginning, 3 lines. That's the basic traditional approach. But here, you're trying to. It's almost like you're connecting people together. It's more that.
You've got it. That's
Yeah.
exactly it. So, I had this idea in a tea shop in London with my best friend. Right,
Huh.
I was feeling low because the startup attempt hadn't worked out, and
Your 7th attempt,
fourth,
15th, 4th. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
I think it was fourth. So no, third or fourth. And there's lots of projects in the way. Anyway, I was not, I was just like, didn't really know what to do with myself as a founder when something doesn't work. You're so immersed in it. It's like it is the end of the world for you in that moment. And just on a whim, and I really can't emphasize how much of a whim it was. I took like a notebook out just like this one I've got here, and I wrote a line of a haiku poem. And I just pushed the notebook to Shubham, my friend. I said, dude, you write the next line. And I wrote the final line for the next 90 minutes. That's all we were doing. Sounds kind of
You
geeky,
did
but
3 lines, 90 minutes.
3 lines, little pieces of like microfiction, maybe a little doodles. But it was just like, I just wanted to get out my own head. I was not like satiated enough by my own like thinking. And I thought, okay, here's something, you evolve it. So that's all it was. It was just like kind of fun. He's an actor, so we're always interested in like creative.
Is he a successful
exercises.
actor?
He's an unbelievable actor.
But is he a successful actor?
He is going to be a successful actor, and he is. I mean, he's been in movies. He's got an agent.
Really?
He's training at Guildhall right now in London.
Okay.
So he's super talented, and he's like my creative brain trust. Right. Whenever there's an idea, like he's one of the first people I chat to about it.
But it's a bit far-fetched to understand that you're sitting there, you're feeling depressed, you're doing haiku, more as a something to do to kill time. Where would it translate into?
So,
This is going to be a big idea.
For the next 90 minutes, I started to get really, really excited during that session for 2 reasons. One was to simply see how like the thought evolved from person to person.
I
in
thought
such a
Shubham was
framework.
really, really attractive. Maybe
Shubham's a good-looking guy. You should meet him sometime.
I will.
But that was interesting, that evolution of thought. And then I had this immense urge by the end of that session, what if I could connect with anyone in the world through this context?
In the same way you did with your partner.
In the same way I did with Shubham right now on paper. What if I could send out a line and a school teacher in South Korea would pick it up and add to the story, and then an artist in San Francisco.
It's a great idea, actually, now when I think of it.
Right?
Yeah.
And as you said, you already connected dots before. It was a meaningful context for social connection. Like creativity is
And a
almost the
different form,
excuse.
because we've all
Exactly.
exhausted the traditional forms that the other
That's
fellows
exactly it.
offer
And
you.
like when you're going to, in school and university and you're using like Facebook, you're using Instagram or whichever platforms, it's feeling like, where is all of this moving towards, right? Because there are millions of ways to connect with people online now, but do we actually feel more connected, right? Like social
So
anxiety
this
and
is a more
loneliness are
meaningful
still-
experience, you think?
This is
When you-
definitely.
Because your creative juices are getting into it, mostly with
Creativity
strangers.
is like, it's almost the excuse to connect. If you look at any product, especially in, the social space, ultimately, if you abstract away a couple of layers, everything looks the same, right? Like you have a profile, you interact with people, you do something. But the products that really become relevant to their lives are the ones that have very powerful contexts. So Instagram, let's say the context is a beautiful moment. So for Haiku Jam, we thought this is a really, really powerful context, and creativity enables that, but ultimately it's that sense of belongingness and meaningful connection.
But could
that's keeping it
what is
going.
meaningful for me may not be meaningful for well, there'll be somebody who'll find it meaningful. But could I have like sexual imagery, for example, in my haiku poem? Could it be like disgusting? Could it be like racist? Could it be like, I don't know, religious?
I mean, you can, but we have, like, all of the content is moderated by the community. So like there's
So what, you sort of vet it?
if it's like genuinely offensive, so if it's like pornographic, then yeah, it's vetted and deleted from the system.
What if it's like a terrorist? He's trying to preach terrorism.
We haven't had that problem yet.
It's going to stop. It's only a matter of time.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's
But
only a
why
matter
not
of time.
pornography? What the hell you guys got against that? What am I going to
There's
do?
young kids who use the app. There's mothers and families.
damn
and,
you.
and I think, but this has also been a big learning, right? Like if you look at, so as you're growing, now this is one of the big things we learned in San Francisco when we were based there, that like you only know that you've become relevant when sort of the trolls and the bad guys come in. Right,
They validate you,
Right,
literally.
they validate it, and that was awesome learning. I think for us,
So
when
you cheer. Oh, look.
yeah, no, really, it's like a hug and a slap in the face at the same time, because you're like, wow, people are using
We've
it in
arrived.
interesting ways, but oh my god, there's so many like rude words or profanity now in the platform. How do you deal with this? And I think our approach at the time was like, we need to shut all this down, get it removed, and because there's so many other users who are being upset. But then the evolution of that is actually like ultimately it's not for us to dictate how you use a particular product. Yes, there's a limit, right? There's very clearly a line. But Twitter is a place where, if you're, I don't know, you can have a very like extreme political view, and you can still derive value from Twitter. Equally, you may not be into politics at all. You just want to take photos of your morning orange juice, and you can also be into Twitter, because it's allowed you to tailor and optimize your personal experience. So that's been the learning for us, that to build it, the irony is that to build a product
Were
for
you
the
surprised that
world.
there's so many people who want to express themselves creatively, connect over all kinds of diverse subjects at the same time? Were you, again, it goes back to that paper you began with, the Vortex Express, where we've literally tried to raise the bar slightly in terms of the intellectual capacity of the client, if I can call him that. So it's almost the same trend here. That's what I'm seeing.
Absolutely, no, I'm glad you raised that. It was only recently that I looked back into that first business that I thought, wow, it makes total sense that I'm doing this now, considering that's how it
I've
started.
been saying this, Dhruv, from the beginning. We Indians are just too intelligent. We have to raise the other races so that we can talk to them. What are we going to do after some time? So you've done the right thing. Yours is a noble pursuit, I must say.
Thank you so much.
Trying to get people to just elevate themselves. Otherwise, it's the same old, same old. That's what all the internet sites are all about, quite frankly. Anyway, you've done really well, and we have to close because of time. But I just want to ask you very quickly, we have a section called AMA where May will come in and talk to you for 2 minutes.
Sure.
Before that, quickly, you're back in India.
Yep.
Did you have an Indian experience at all growing up? Were you coming here to meet relatives or something? Or
I was born in Calcutta. I lived
damn
in
you.
Cal and Darjeeling for like a couple of years, moved to England. We come back to see family almost every year.
So you're very much in touch with the growing India, the big
Absolutely.
animal that she is now.
Absolutely. And I think that was just one of the most exciting things about Haiku Jam. When we launched in London, the agenda was not India. The agenda was, let's build a global company. Let's do
Right.
it from London. We're already here. We understand it. We were in San Francisco for a period of time, but then the majority of our early users were coming out of India.
All early users are from India.
That was-
Anything new
but
on the
this-
internet, it's us.
No, that's typically not the case, though, when
No?
it comes to, like, most people, at least were telling us that a lot of my friends that do, that's really surprising, Indian consumers typically aren't early adopters, especially of social products, right? Because these sort of products are not built in India, right? There's not even one globally relevant social network that's started in India. It's all in San Francisco.
Not yet.
Not yet.
That's why you're here.
Exactly, that's why I'm here. So we took a very big call that we're going to move Haiku Jam across to India. We're now based in Bombay, and we're building out things.
And you think
from
it's the
here.
right decision?
Absolutely.
Wait till you're living in Colaba, right?
We're Airbnb-ing in Colaba right now.
And where's the office?
We're going to be moving to Bandra.
And where's the office? All in the same place?
Yeah, we're going to be...
Smart decision, otherwise you'll never see the office.
Yeah, that's it.
That's what India's all about.
That's
Live in the same area, please.
That's it.
Yeah. All right, man. Done really well, Dhruv. 24 years old. My God, I wish my kids could be like this. Maybe they will. Got to aim high. But before we let you go, May is going to come in and just knock you over with some stupid questions, if you don't mind.
No, not at all.
All right.
Hello there, my name is Naveen Narona, and as a gay person in India, I get asked a lot of stupid questions.
Beta, is it LGBT or eligibility?
How do two men procreate?
Bro, is Grindr better than Tinder or what?
We answer all these questions and much more on my podcast, Keeping It Queer, where I talk to individuals from the LGBT community in India and learn about their personal stories. Catch all the episodes on the IVM podcast app or any other podcasting app you like. Till then, keep it queer.
If you have any questions for Cyrus, write to us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. Or you can send an email to whatcyrussays@gmail.com.
All right, here, Dhruv's the multimillionaire 24-year-old boy sitting here who's moved bag and baggage to Mumbai.
24?
It's going to take him some time to adapt. He's 24,
Are you
and he's had about
baba?
5 or 6 ideas, all of them good.
They're going to say 5 or 6
and
women.
this one has gone through
I'm
the
like,
roof.
yeah.
Women is not going to be a problem, I don't think,
I know.
without being sexist, yeah.
Without being sexist.
Well, I asked him a question early on about did you have a girlfriend at that time, and he had a long pause. So that side we haven't
It was a
approached
girl I
yet.
liked. It was a girl I liked.
This
wow,
is the Indian
that's
experience
the nerd
again.
thing. There was a girl I liked.
Yeah, that's the Indian experience.
From afar.
That's it. That's girlfriend. Come
I
on.
saw her like...
the impartial spectator.
Have you
know,
been to Bhopal? That's girlfriend. You don't do more than that. You were saying?
I was like, no, I'm curious about this. Like, can you
He's an
explain-
Englishman from Yorkshire, for God's sake.
I know. The Yorkshire accent's the
He
best.
got some. When I said
got
Shagathon, he got very excited. No, I'm
It
kidding.
was in a
What?
totally different context.
It's a shagathon.
I was explaining to Cyrus about
Hackathon.
hackathons. And he was like, is that a shagathon? I was like,
Do you know what
a
a hackathon is?
lasts 54 hours and you write a lot of code.
I know.
So I don't know what
Basically,
you do
you're
on the
trying to hack
weekend,
into
but
something.
like, probably
It's a lot of pressure, man. 54 hours challenge. I'm
So
like,
when I
wow.
did a hackathon, have you guys ever heard this movie called Swordfish?
No.
With, like,
Actually, no,
oh,
I've heard of it. I haven't seen
Okay,
it.
so it's a Hugh Jackman movie, and he's a hacker in that movie. And
Oh,
there's
wow.
a scene where he's supposed to hack into something while a woman's giving him a blowjob. So pressure.
What do they show? Him or the girl?
Everything.
I want to see the film.
I want to see the
be
whole
clear on
Swordfish.
these things, you know.
John Travolta's in it too. He's the bad guy.
Oh, I thought he's playing the girl. He's making the film really interesting. May, questions.
Questions. Okay, so this is from Aniket Rao, who says, who would be your dream guest on the podcast? I'm so sorry, Drew. I think you'd be my dream guest.
Drew, if you had a
You're asking
podcast,
me?
who would be your
No,
dream guest?
Who would be your dream guest?
Right
Well,
now,
I would say Drew is dreamy.
I think...
Okay, stop flirting with him because he's got money, man. You'll never know now about his
Hey,
looks.
I flirt with people based on personality and intellect.
I thought the British accent really gets people going. That's
Well,
what
the
some
Malayalam
girls
accent
tell
gets
me.
going. You start doing Malayalam and just be like,
Will you
"Girl."
stick to the question because we're going to
Sorry,
7 other
this is your
What's the
questions?
question again?
What is your
If
dream
you were to
guest?
interview someone, forget podcast, who would you like to interview?
Right
Who's
now,
your
I
kind
think I would like to interview the founder of Pixar, Ed Catmull.
It's all business for you. I thought Donald Trump or something would come out.
No, not at all. I'm just finished his book, Creativity Inc. I'm super inspired by Pixar as a company, and I think he's unbelievable.
And you can tell from our silence that both of us aren't.
No, Pixar is
Pixar's amazing.
amazing.
Dude, how can you not like...
I'm on Swordfish. I'm on John Travolta. I'm on another page.
The thing is, I think they're animated movies, right? It's
Yep.
this beautiful fine balance between kids and adults, right?
Yep.
To find a space of humor that appeals to both is just the hardest thing to do, and they do it really
It's
good.
unbelievable. Like, when you look into that process, it's unbelievable. Have you guys seen Ratatouille?
Yeah.
Yes!
Right?
Yeah.
Nice film, right?
Yeah.
Lovely.
Now, think about how, as an idea, ignoring Ratatouille, like, think about rats, and then think about putting rats inside a kitchen and making that a feel-good experience.
Glamorous,
Think
yeah.
about how, like, impossible,
Wow.
intrinsically impossible that is, and yet
They
they
did
did
it
that.
so well.
So now you know the immigrant experience coming into Europe. It's like that.
Rats.
Yeah, don't
Ratatouille.
stop it. I'm
What
so
about
sorry.
you?
I'm
Cyrus,
so sorry.
what's your dream?
I thought the question would be more like, like Muhammad Ali and, Oscar Wilde and John Lennon, people like
could be
that.
that,
That's who
huh?
I'd like to. I mean, he's taken it somewhere else with this,
know.
with contemporary slice of who's who, for which I'm the wrong person because I don't know what's happening in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But frankly, my world begins and ends with my daughter saying, give me the remote. And it's all over. It's all downhill after that. I don't know about you, but, I've been watching,
Is your
she's
daughter your
into
dream
a show
guest?
called Chuck, which is so boring, I can't tell you, but I have to tell her I love her. And the show.
Chuck is a terrible show.
It's a
I've
terrible
not
name
seen
for
Chuck.
India. You don't have the time. You're building businesses. And you moved here. All right, next question.
Okay, next question is, what are your plans for New Year's Eve except sitting at home and scratching yourself like a true Indian?
Okay, let's
It's
ask
from
our guest
Maheen.
first. Dhruv, now, let me understand. You're here in India permanently, but you keep one leg in England. Your family is there and all that.
Just one
I-
leg. Okay.
It's all for
I
tax
won't
purposes, isn't it?
Not at all. Not even. I mean,
Theresa May not doing
I'm
it
going
for you.
back to England for Christmas and New Year.
They all do that. The
But-
Indian team goes back. I'm telling you, I don't know why they don't like our Christmas.
I haven't
They
seen my
just,
family
Christmas,
for a while.
England.
My younger brother, so I'd like to go
No,
back
that makes sense.
and spend some time with them.
Family during this time makes sense.
So what do you do on New Year's night? For us, New Year's night, at least in India, urban India, is like a big party experience. Look at me, as if that's a new thing. But yeah.
New Year's, I don't actually know what the plan is this year. Normally, like family
But
and
do you
friends.
do the whole drinking with the buddies, lad culture thing? What
I
do you
don't
do?
drink anymore.
Oh, you stopped drinking at 24. You're 24. You can't have this
I mean, I
experience.
never really drank
You stopped
much.
at 54.
I drank a little bit before, but I don't drink anymore.
So what do you do on 31st night? You invent something else? You design an app? You
Smoking them doobies, that's what
Probably
he's
have
doing.
a long conversation with my brother about something that he wants to be like an academic
Well,
mathematician.
thank God you're successful because I
Really?
can't find a... He wants to be a what?
Nerd,
A mathematician.
nerds, Max.
Because of the film?
Which film?
Whatever it's called with Patel, Dave Patel.
Oh,
Ramanujan,
about
sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so he's studying at Trinity College
There you go.
What?
right now.
Seriously?
So like
That's
Ramanujam
in-
is one of
he's
his
from-
like heroes.
I should think
He's
so.
studying math there.
And not Dave Patel, who's
Not
just an
Dave-
actor. You told him that. Right? Stop Dave Patel on the street and say, come on, 99 into 74, do it now. Yeah. I mean, if you're really dumb, that would be great fun, no? When you think the character and the actor are the same.
But that's kind of sad, though. Then
I would love it.
no,
You're
you
playing a
because you
famous-
love messing with people. That's why.
Right.
Wait, what's your New Year's plan?
Oh, the wife will decide that. I think we
The wife.
we go to Alibag and I look at the stars and count the time to come back to Mumbai, and it's all fun. It's all fun for everyone.
Nicely done.
But let's thank our guest. His full name is Dhrupad Karwa. But they call him Drew as in Nancy Drew, but obviously Nancy is not
Drew
the-
Barrymore,
yeah.
Nancy
Drew Barrymore,
Drew, I've
yeah.
heard of them.
What about that other comedian with the glasses? Drew something or
Drew
the other.
Carey.
Drew Carey.
Drew Carey, there you go. That's much better. Go with that.
Drew
24
Carey.
years. Me, note this. 24 years, successful business, moved. This is how the world has changed. He's moved with his success from London to Mumbai. All our parents' generation moved from Mumbai to London.
That's true. What are
That's
you
how the
doing with
world has
yourself,
changed.
man?
I love Bombay.
Yeah.
Really?
Mumbai. Can
You're
I
a
call it
virgin.
Bombay?
You can call it
How's-
Bombay or Mumbai. We don't really care
You call it what you want. Don't worry. They can't touch you here.
in this padded studio.
The skinheads can't touch you here.
That's awesome.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, catch us on any of the podcasting apps. Please, we beg you, we need you. If you have any questions, write to us online and you can mail us as well. We will answer. We have a doctor in the house called May.
And that's what Cyrus says.
Long ago, three young men decided to form an alliance and get into a future. The three men were Amar Akbar Anthony, and the film, of course, was beautiful. But we have three other men who formed a Geek Fruit. Not so interesting story. But their future is all about science fiction, nerd culture, and comic books. That's right. If you're too lazy to read a full book, read a comic book. If you're too lazy to read a comic book, let Geek Fruit tell you about a comic book. And comic books. Check out new episodes on our IVM podcast apps. Happy listening, mother and fathers.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is your captain speaking. Sorry to say, but there's been a slight delay due to the apocalypse having suddenly begun. As you can see, there's death, destruction, and chaos taking place all around us. But don't you worry, food and drinks will be served shortly, and I would recommend checking out IVM Podcasts to get some of your favorite Indian podcasts. We'll keep you going till this whole thing blows over. Thank you.